The nervous system, the physiology of the nervous system. The nervous system is involved in receiving information about the environment around us, sensation, and generating responses to that information, motor responses. The nervous system can be divided into regions that are responsible for sensations, sensory functions, and for the response, motor functions. But there is a third function that needs to be included. Sensory input needs to be integrated with other sensations, as well as with memories, emotional state, or learning, cognition. Some regions of the nervous system are termed integration or association areas. The process of integration combines sensory perceptions and higher cognitive functions such as memories, learning, and emotion to produce a response. Sensation. The first major function of the nervous system is sensation, receiving information about the environment to gain input about what is happening outside the body, or sometimes within the body. The sensory functions of the nervous system register the presence of a change from homeostasis or a particular event in the environment known as a stimulus. The senses we think of most are the big five: taste, smell, touch, sight, and hearing. The stimuli for taste and smell are both chemical substances, molecules, compounds, etc. Touch is physical or mechanical stimuli that interact with the skin. Sight is light stimuli, and hearing is the perception of sound, which is a physical stimulus similar to some aspects of touch. There are actually more senses than just those, but that list represents the major senses. Those five are all senses that receive stimuli from the outside world, and of which there is conscious perception. Additional sensory stimuli might be from the internal environment inside the body, such as the stretch of an organ wall or the concentration of certain ions in the blood. Response. The nervous system produces a response on the basis of the stimuli perceived by sensory structures. An obvious response would be the movement of muscles, such as withdrawing a hand from a hot stove. But there are broader uses of the term. The nervous system can cause the contraction of all three types of muscle tissue. For example, skeletal muscle contracts to move the skeleton. Cardiac muscle is influenced as heart rate increases during exercise. And smooth muscle contracts as the digestive system moves food along the digestive tract. Responses also include the neural control of glands in the body as well, such as the production and secretion of sweat by the eccrine and merocrine sweat glands found in the skin to lower body temperature. Responses can be divided into those that are voluntary or conscious, contraction of the skeletal muscles, and those that are involuntary, such as contraction of smooth muscles, regulation of cardiac muscle, and activation of glands. Voluntary responses are governed by the somatic nervous system, and involuntary responses are governed by the autonomic nervous system, which are discussed in the next section. Integration. Stimuli that are received by sensory structures are communicated to the nervous system where that information is processed. This is called integration. Stimuli are compared with or integrated with other stimuli, memories of previous stimuli, or the state of a person at a particular time. This leads to the specific response that will be generated. Seeing a baseball pitch to a batter will not automatically cause the batter to swing. The trajectory of the ball and its speed will need to be considered. Maybe the count is 3 balls and 1 strike, and the batter wants to let this pitch go by in the hope of getting a walk to first base. Or maybe the batter's team is so far behind, it would be fun to just swing away. Controlling the body. The nervous system can be divided into 2 parts, mostly on the basis of a functional difference in responses. The somatic nervous system, or SNS, is responsible for conscious perception and voluntary motor responses. Voluntary motor response means the contraction of skeletal muscle, but those contractions are not always voluntary in the sense that you have to want to perform them. Some somatic motor responses are reflexes and often happen without a conscious decision to perform them. If your friend jumps out from behind a corner and yells "boo," you will be startled and you might scream or leap back. You didn't decide to do that, and you may not have wanted to give your friend a reason to laugh at your expense. But it is a reflex involving skeletal muscle contractions. Other motor responses become automatic, in other words, unconscious, as a person learns motor skills, referred to as habit learning or procedural memory. The autonomic nervous system, or ANS, is responsible for involuntary control of the body, usually for the sake of homeostasis, or regulation of the internal environment. Sensory input for autonomic functions can be from sensory structures tuned to external or internal environmental stimuli. The motor output extends to smooth and cardiac muscle as well as glandular tissue. The role of the autonomic system is to regulate the organ systems of the body, which usually mean to control homeostasis. Sweat glands, for example, are controlled by the autonomic system. When you are hot, sweating helps cool your body down. That is a homeostatic mechanism. But when you are nervous, you might start sweating too. That is not homeostatic. It is the physiological response to an emotional state. There is another division of the nervous system that describes functional responses. The enteric nervous system, or ENS, is responsible for controlling the smooth muscle and glandular tissue of your digestive system. It is a large part of the peripheral nervous system and is not dependent on the CNS. It is sometimes valid, however, to consider the enteric system to be a part of the autonomic system because the neural structures that make up the enteric system are a component of the autonomic output that regulates digestion. There are some differences between the two, but for our purposes here, there will be a good bit of overlap. The autonomic nervous system, or ANS, is responsible for involuntary control of the body, usually for the sake of homeostasis, regulation of the internal environment. Sensory input for autonomic functions can be from sensory structures turned to external or internal environmental stimuli. The motor output extends to smooth and cardiac muscle as well as glandular tissue. The role of the autonomic system is to regulate the organ systems of the body, which usually means to control homeostasis.